Hello and welcome to the All Blacks edition, brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. We will be talking about, are the All Blacks under pressure? We'll also be talking about contract negotiations that have been going on, and also we'll be talking about, what's the other topic? I've got another topic somewhere there. Anyway, we'll talk about something else. Oh yeah, somebody is about to hit a milestone on the old caps. So we'll also talk about that as well. So, yeah, join us for all of that. Always welcome your comments, so please do feel free to give us comments as we go through the show. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And joining me is the one, the only Mr. Handsome himself. How are you doing, Ashwin?
Stop it. No, I'm good. I'm busy. I'm unemployed and I'm busy. Go figure.
Unemployed and you're busy. Now, I'm on a special brew tonight, so yes, I'm drinking this, which is a pint of, or a drink of, wobbly boot. So who does that remind you of? Hey, Bodie, how you doing, mate? So there we go.
Have a wobbly boot.
Having a drink of wobbly boot for you. And Ashwin is on, what is that, the Coronas?
No, cheap Summit.
Oh, Spates.
Summit Lager. Cheap stuff.
The cheap stuff. Oh, the quality stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll stop eating the Doritos now.
Thank you very much. That's far too noisy. Good evening, Christian, on the live chat. Good to have you here with us. For some reason, my central thing that pulls all the chat things together isn't working. So sorry if we miss you on Facebook and Periscope and you're making comments. I can just see the YouTube ones. So let's kick off then. Looking on New Zealand Herald today, we've got Gregor Paul going, the All Blacks are not under pressure. The pressure's all on the Pumas and South Africa. And then another article in the same paper goes, we're going to find out what these All Blacks are made of over the next 2 weeks. So what is it? Is it just two lots of clickbait, or are the All Blacks are the All Blacks under pressure or not?
All Blacks are always under pressure. The All Blacks live under pressure. The reason why the All Blacks live under pressure is because that they basically, not that no other team doesn't, but obviously there's an expectation on to win every game. And so if they don't, there's all this extra pressure that comes on, or question marks and the voices in the heads and all that sort of cliched sort of comments that come out. So, the All Blacks are always under pressure. It's only the amount that varies.
Well, that's true. And there was a, during the European Championship football side of things earlier this year, there was a tweet that came out that showed a face and basically it had a red cross on it, and you saw a female with a bust-up nose. And basically it was pointing out that whenever England lose at football, the rates of domestic violence go up. And the only difference between a win and a loss is actually how much domestic violence there is. And I've heard similar stories in the past that basically when the All Blacks lose, domestic violence in New Zealand goes up. So I really do hope that 2 weekends ago, or a week and a half ago, that didn't happen. I've not actually talked to any.
No, it'll be interesting, actually. You're very true. I think it was a while ago that story with the All Blacks, what the story that you're alluding to with the English, with the soccer, and the correlating story with the All Blacks was probably about 5-6 years ago, if I remember rightly, sort of thing that initially came out, or even longer. But you just sort of think that the way that loss was taken against the Springboks, nobody was overly upset. Obviously, it's a little bit of a downer. The All Blacks have lost, but talking to all the people that I talked to, it's just like nobody was sort of, in mourning and started wearing black. Well, changing out of one set of black and moving into another set of black, and going into a state of mourning. So, I think at this point in time, the All Blacks have been so successful over a couple of years now that we're not silly. I think people aren't silly. Obviously there'll be the odd idiot. You can't help that. But I think in general, most people are sort of like, hey, look, we've been winning for so long, you've got to expect a loss every now and then.
I think there are a couple of things going on. So mine wasn't actually that story that you're talking about, because I don't think I was in New Zealand when that story came out. But my reference was from actually talking to a casualty nurse from one of the hospitals in Auckland a couple of years ago at a barbecue. So my reference is a little bit anecdotal, I guess, because it's not off stats. It's off someone who actually lives and breathes what happens in casualty. But still, that's what she said that they always experienced. Now, I guess a couple of things have happened since over the last few years. Is that if you drive down to New Plymouth, for example, along the actual main road, you will see signs up, basically adverts up, saying that the domestic violence is not acceptable in the Taranaki. So there has been a big push and an advertising campaign to try and change social awareness and the culture around domestic violence, basically saying it's not okay, which clearly, let's be honest, it's not. And I would hope I'm offering that people that we mix with aren't people who would get involved in domestic violence, but you never know what happens behind closed doors, obviously. So hopefully, you should say it was a much more measured response as a whole from the country. It's not like the kind of response that you would get in the press, for example, when Dan Carter would get injured about sort of 6 years ago, where the nation would go into mourning over one guy getting injured, never mind actually losing a game. That kind of the emotional attachment, or the country's emotional level and around the All Blacks isn't what it used to be. That's also probably down to the just people aren't actually as interested in the All Blacks anymore either.
Oh, don't end on just while I'm taking a swig there. Jeez. Oh,
sorry.
I think the number of people interested in the All Blacks is the same. I don't think it's changed. I think as a percentage that might have decreased, but the actual numbers will be about the same. But look, not wanting to digress down the old the domestic violence issue too much, but I sort of think it's a difficult one to sort of to gauge really whether it's actually improved or not, because of the situation we're in with with the All Blacks and their success. The other thing is that, as you said, it's a hard one to gauge because as you said, the people that I watch rugby with don't get that. I mean, we love our rugby. Don't get me wrong. We're totally invested in the results of the teams that I follow and my mates follow. But yeah, there's nobody that's we'll see we all see the bigger picture, for want of a term.
We see the bigger picture, but you don't. But there's plenty of annoyance and swearing going on when the team lose. It's not. So let's just be clear. It is a passionate crowd. It's just how you show that passion is what we're talking about here. But anyway, so it's all, as you said, pressure.
Yep. Sorry, just sort of like I think it's the group that I'm involved with, or the people that I know that follow the game, and that it's almost like the game itself. It's primarily what happens on the field is left on the field, and then you move on. Obviously it might last for a little, like a half an hour after it, while you vent in terms of what happened within the game. But it's primarily a situation of, oh well, that's done and dusted. Move on. What's next? As opposed to dwelling on it and getting worked up and getting into a frothy state where you're sort of really, taking it probably a bit too seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to the question though, which was around pressure. So clearly, as you said, the All Blacks are always under pressure. A stadium of 4 million people and all that kind of malarkey. But is it more so? So do you think probably the Pumas walk into this game having come off the back of a good performance against the All Blacks and a loss? And beating the Wallabies. Do they walk into this game with nothing to lose, or do they walk into this game with an expectation of them doing well in this game?
Look, I feel that any team that walks in against the All Blacks in the state that the All Blacks in, or let's put it this way, let's take the All Blacks out of the picture. Any team that walks into a game where they're playing the number one team, ranked team in the world, and at the moment, you'd say by a distance, you go in there with less pressure. There's no expectations on you. The expectations of you to play good rugby, but the expectation on you is not to win by default. So I don't believe the Argentinians should go into the game with any pressure. The Argentinians should be riding a wave of, I can't think of what I'm going to say, a wave of success, but a wave of positiveness within the camp morale, with the type of brand, the rugby that they're playing. The morale and the like, absolutely. So that's what the Argentinians should be coming into the game with, is that wave of morale and positiveness within their camp. I would not see them coming in with an expectation of any sort other than to play good rugby. Obviously, their fans will be saying, "Hey, look, you've reached a level. We want to see you maintain that level." If that level is good enough to beat the All Blacks, then great. But as long as you hit that level and don't fall below it, that is the expectation that they have to live up to.
Yeah, there is. I think so interesting enough, I live with an Argentinian couple, and we were talking about the game. We were talking about the game this morning. I hadn't even thought about talking about this beforehand. We were talking about the game this morning, and he said, we have a chance. So clearly, the expectation from the fans has definitely stepped up with the results they've had over the last few weeks. Now, I very clearly told him that they don't have a chance, and basically the All Blacks will be on the rebound and all of that kind of stuff. But I think there is an increased level of expectation from the fans, and let's be honest, the Argentina sit third in the table with 2 wins, only behind South Africa on bonus points, ahead of Australia. This has got to be one of their best rugby championships ever.
Absolutely, and because they're competitive, they're truly competitive, right? I think your Argentinian flatmates are a bit optimistic in one sense, in the fact that the expectation is there that they should beat the All Blacks. I think the expectation is there if they play well and the All Blacks again don't perform to the levels of their own expectations, then very definitely the Argentinians have a shot at winning the game. But I sort of think, it's you got to go in there realistic. But that's me. I approach the game realistically as opposed to sometimes with my heart. I generally go with my head, apart from when we do Super Rugby predictions.
But yes, so and on predictions, Christian said he reckons All Blacks by 17. I think I've gone All Blacks by 15 in my predictions that I put out on Monday night. I think there's going to be a bit of a rebound, and they will put the game away. But again, I do expect Argentina to be competitive for that first hour, just as usual, but not leading, but definitely competitive.
When you look at Argentinian teams this year, this year's one would be, I suppose, going back over the Rugby Championships, that this is the best Argentinian performances over the competition that we've seen. But that's an easy call to make. In saying that, Argentinian teams down the years, whether it's been Rugby Championship or outside of Rugby Championship, have turned up, and the expectation is that they're good enough to win this game. And unfortunately, for one reason or another, they haven't turned up. If we take the All Blacks out of the picture, the number of times we've gone to a World Cup game and we said, look, this is Argentina, they're the favourites in this game. And for some reason, who knows what, we can't get into their heads, but they fall over at that hurdle.
Even though they have had one injury, Morano isn't available for them this weekend. You've got to say that they've got to be favourites. So they've got to be favourites to beat Australia in 2 weekends' time. And Gary says no Mo'unga this time around. Have you seen the squad announced? I'm not sure if I've seen it yet.
I would expect that the squad will come out tomorrow. but I'm guessing that Moanga won't be there. But although I've read some funny articles recently, or just I haven't had time to actually read them fully, but just the bylines, etc., which have been talking about some interesting moves around the first 5 position.
There have been all sorts of suggestions as to what kind of squad is going to go out there. I've seen suggestions that Moanga's on the bench and that Damon McKenzie starts. And you got to say, you can't be starting Bowden Barrett for every single game, and so we'll have to see what we're going to see who it is. I wouldn't be surprised to see Damon McKenzie start personally. The back row is going to be, we haven't got this down as a topic, but I think the back row is going to be of interest with because Liam Squire's injured, and Reed is obviously not in Argentina. So who are you expecting to be the back three?
Well, I'm guessing Frizzell comes in. I've got Sam Cane on one side. We've got Frizzell at the, is he going to play at the back or is he going to play on the side? Are they going to push him to the back? I don't know. I'm drawing blank, tell you the truth.
That one hadn't even occurred to me. So yeah. I'll be honest. I was expecting to see Luke Whitelock come in at number 8 with Sam Cane and Frizzell and either Ardy Surveyor or Hemapo on the bench.
Well, I mean, if they do put a Frizzell at 8, because he can play 8, can't he? I mean, he's a 6 primarily.
Yep.
But you start a Hemapo at 6 and have a Frizzell at the back.
Wow, you really kind of.
They're on the. Let's put in the concrete mix, haven't I? That one.
You have. I wasn't expecting that. You really are kind of removing a lot of experience from the side for an away test match.
Yep.
Because is Sam Whitelock back or is he out as well?
You mean Whitelock or Retallick?
Oh, maybe Retallick. Sorry, I get myself mixed up. Yep.
Yeah. White people, they all look the same to me too. I was wondering the same thing about that actually, whether Retallick's back or not. I don't believe he is. I haven't heard any noises around him coming back yet, so not 100% sure. But then, I mean, to tell you the truth, I actually felt that Paddy Tuipulotu played, really did add something, even in a losing cause, off the bench against South Africa. He brought some bulk and muscle and go forward off the bench. So, geez, we've got some good strength there. I mean, you start with a Whitelock and you've got a Barrett, a Scotty Barrett, and you've got Patrick on the bench. If you're doing that, have you got space for a Hemapo on the bench then? Because then you basically, sort of got that 2 big ball carriers on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's if we look at the kind of the scrum that's out, I mean, Franks was out, you've got Coles out, you've Retallick out, Shields and Reed out. You've got a pretty decent scrum, a pretty decent front 8. You're missing out there.
Missing out on, absolutely. Yeah, and that's why when we come back to this whole the other All Blacks under pressure, there's some key players that add some big, big. They bring a lot to the All Blacks. I mean, every team's got missing players, key players actually. But when you look at like a Brodie Retallick, who's effectively the best rugby player on the planet at this stage, it's more than just losing one of your top players. You're losing a superstar.
You are. And Christian just pointed out that at half-time, Hawke's Bay trail Northland 24-13, so 14 points behind, or two converted tries. So good lead by Northland. I had Hawke's Bay down as favourites for this one, but let's see how the second half of that pans out. But talking of half times, perhaps it's time to move on to the next topic. And in the second half, we're going to talk about now. Well, in the second half, we'll be talking about contracts and caps. Before we go there, don't forget that you can support the Driving Maul via patreon.com, patreon.com/drivingmaul, and you can support us for as little as $1 a month. Link down below in YouTube. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, you can definitely just ask me and I'll give you the link, obviously. So, but interesting enough, Rieko Ioane getting a 4-year contract. That's a bit long for for such a young player.
Oh, yes and no. I think we've talked about, when you look at the wings, our superstar wings that we've had for the All Blacks in the last sort of 10 years or so even, they're fantastic at a young age, and then they sort of get long in the tooth at 27, 28, which for any other player in the team is not long in the tooth. And so the wingers get long in the tooth at 27, 28, and the next sort of rising star comes along and gets selected for the All Blacks. So I think when you look at the position itself, 4 years isn't a big deal at such a young age. In saying that, what are those contracts really worth? If Rico's form drops, the All Blacks don't pick him, so he's now no longer an All Blacks player, and in his contract will guarantee be, if he's not picked for the All Blacks, then he has the option, he's an out option to leave. So, yeah, it's like a cap to mortgage. You got a good deal, and if things go pear-shaped, you've got an out clause.
Because interestingly enough, reading an article today with where the last 4-year deal for a winger was a certain Julian Surveyor, who has suddenly came out of favour halfway through his 4-year contract. So potentially risky in the fact that you sign a guy up for 4 years and then have to keep him paying him the big money even when he's not playing in the big games.
Look, effectively, it's a safety net for the NZRFU, in the fact that Rico signed a 4-year deal. As long as they keep picking him from the All Blacks, he's theirs, and it's not going to cost them any more than the high pay grade that he's already on now because of the new contract. He's not going to go to all of a sudden French Rugby throwing $10 million at him type scenario. So he's not going to end up with that scenario. So they've got a safety net around that. And for Rico, it's a win-win situation. He's got a nice pay packet that's coming in guaranteed. As long as he maintains his form, it's all good. If he does fall out of favour, he can obviously use his get-out-of-jail-free card and go to Europe.
Yeah, Julian was 24 when he signed that 4-year deal. And kind of 2 years into it, fell out of favour and then has managed to... Yeah, and I think it's been mutually beneficial all round. New Zealand Rugby have managed to not have to pay him $800,000 for the last couple of years of his contract. He's got paid more than that in France, and I think everyone's happy with that. Giving Rico the 4-year contract when he's 20 is a different ballgame entirely. It's not something that New Zealand used to do, though, and this is part of the Piatau effect as to when that's changed their whole thought process around these contracts. You used to have to earn the high money later in your career. Now it's more on potential and actual ability rather than earning it. It's market worth, so it's more correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say that, you look at other professional sports and, you get that superstar coming along at age grade type levels, plays 1 year and it's like, yeah, he is actually as good as his age grade stuff was. Let's throw lots of money at him and tie him down.
Yeah, so not surprised and not too worried about it. One that did shock me was Billy Proctor getting
absolutely
a 5-year Super Rugby contract.
Yeah,
with the Hurricanes, having never played Super Rugby.
Yeah, absolutely bizarre. Tell you the truth, totally bizarre. I don't think we've seen his brother playing for the Wellington Lions. I have to say Wellington Lions so that my son doesn't get confused with the British and Irish Lions, the Johannesburg Lions, and whatever other Lions we've got Detroit out there. But anyway, Detroit. So the Wellington Lions, we haven't even cited him for them, have we? I don't believe I've seen him play for them in the Mod 10 Cup.
Yeah, no, he's playing for them in my second cup this season,
But
alongside his brother Matt Proctor,
yep.
So Billy's been playing 12 with Matt at 13.
Okay.
When I saw them play against Counties Manukau a couple of weekends ago. So no, he is playing at my 10 cup level, but I think but he's never played at Super Rugby level.
Here's an interesting one, right? So this weekend's matchup, sorry, digressing from All Blacks type stuff, but Wellington, Tasman, if they rate him that highly, he plays this weekend, surely.
Absolutely. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I was for such a youngster to get a 5-year deal seemed, having not proven himself at Super Rugby level at all, was a bit of a shocker. I don't know how long Geordie Barrett's deal is. It'll be interesting to see because obviously he got that before he started playing at Super Rugby level. So it'll be interesting to see how that what length of contract he's got. But I say that one seemed a bit of a shock. I would have thought actually I'd have quite liked Rico to be on a 5-year contract because that would have taken him through to the next Rugby World Cup rather than 4.
I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you though. I think if he, if he's good enough and he's playing well enough at the end of the 4-year contract, I think he'll stick around for that 1 year, play that next World Cup, do a 1-year contract, and then there's this go and make lots of money after that, if he wants to go down that path.
Yep.
Because the other thing is that they've got to realise, right, and I think the players do realise it, the agents anyway definitely do, if they go to a World Cup and have an absolute stormer, their value goes up quite considerably.
Very true. I mean, there was a lot of deals were done prior to the last Rugby World Cup, because the clubs have also realised this and want to get the deals done beforehand, before there's more competition for their signatures. So it works both ways. But one of the interesting things we've said about these guys is that quite often they have to support big families themselves. Rico has got the advantage that his brother is also going to be on not as much money, but is also going to be on some good money and can also go overseas and get a good whack. So he's sharing the load, which will also be helpful.
Look, with both of them signing contracts at the same time, that's some pretty serious new TVs going up on the wall in the Ioane household.
Remember, Akira's only up for 2 years, not for 4 years, though.
Okay, so Rico's going to go get the 80-inch, and then Akira's going to have to get the 75.
Oh, dear me. So some interesting contract news recently around the All Blacks and Super Rugby.
A lot more to come, though, isn't there? There's still a lot more players that need to be signed up.
There are. Well, yes. I mean, we ran through this a couple of weeks, perhaps a month or so ago now.
Yeah.
That there were a lot of players who are out of contract that need signing up, and you've got to say at this point, a lot of people I think will be comfortable for another year to get themselves to the Rugby World Cup. I can't see players wanting to miss out on that shiny medal, but the only players who will be disappearing off will be players that aren't expecting to get that medal, i.e. they're not expecting to get to the Rugby World Cup. Players that expect to go will stick around for the extra year, even if the deals aren't as good as what they can get overseas. As you say, getting that medal not only helps them with their next contract negotiation, but it also helps them with their post-rugby career as well. And you've got to say that someone who is up for talking, either doing post-dinner circuits or doing media. Well, you laugh, but in the UK, the dinner circuits are there are guys who basically finish rugby and their profession is after dinner speaking. Being an after dinner speaker or getting invited to those kind of events, being able to do media work, if you're a 2-time Rugby World Cup winner compared to a 1-time Rugby World Cup winner, does make a difference, or even a 0-time Rugby World Cup winner.
If you did a great Pizza Hut commercial, then you're going to make some good money.
Yeah.
Or your mum is. She was in it as well.
It was this the Israel Dag who didn't actually go to the Rugby World Cup last time and actually but him and his mum were in the advert for the All Blacks. No, who?
I have not seen that one. I was referring to obviously they did a ad after the 95 World Cup, and had Jonah Lomu. It was for the UK market, Pizza Hut, and Jonah Lomu basically eating pizza and Rory Underwood sitting next to him in the changing rooms. Can I have a piece? Nope. And it's just like they've obviously done a bit of photo trickery. I'm so good at my words today. I need more beers. Photo trickery. Jonah's looking even bigger, and Rory Underwood's looking really small, like he's an under 5 midget. And so Jonah doesn't give him the pizza, and his mum comes around and gives him a kung fu kick and gets the pizza off for her boy. If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube. It'll be up there.
I'm sure it will be. No, but I'm pretty sure that prior to the last Rugby World Cup, it was either Israel Dag or I think actually it might have been Israel Dag and Corrie Jane were both or their mums had got some sort of deal where they'd flown off to Fiji, and then neither of them got actually picked for the Rugby World Cup. When you had this advert of the All Blacks heading off to Fiji for the holiday thing as being part of the Rugby World Cup kind of deal, and the players that actually they'd got for the advert weren't actually going.
Oh yes. Yep, but that was an actual. It wasn't and was not intentional.
Oh yeah, that was not intentional. And the other one was obviously that Israel Dag was one of the lead singers in the for the Men in Black Air New Zealand advert, and again and wasn't selected for the. Perhaps all that extra media work he was doing meant that he didn't actually wasn't getting enough practice in. But talking of players that will definitely be going is a certain Aaron Smith. Well, assuming he doesn't get dropped for some other reasons. But he's heading to this weekend if he gets selected. Which there's been suggestions that TJ will get the start this weekend as part of the rotation. But this weekend, apparently he's got 73 run-on caps, and he's just one behind Justin Marshall now, who had 74 run-on caps. So, which is the record for an All Black 9.
So if he doesn't get there this weekend, he'll get there very soon.
He'll get there by the end of the Rugby Championship, definitely.
Now, can I do my Muppet Show thing? Yeah.
Now, Justin Marshall had seven more caps off the bench, so his total is 81. Whereas Aaron Smith, as we've said quite a lot of times, is not a bench player. He's definitely a starter. Has only got 4 caps off the bench, so he's currently on 77. So it'll take him at least till the end of the year for him to sort of overtake Justin Marshall's total, but we expect him to equal Justin Marshall's starting one pretty soon. So congratulations, Mr. Aaron Smith, coming soon.
No, look, I mean, yeah, he'll go down as one of our great halfbacks. His passing's just phenomenal. We've spoken about in the last few weeks. He appears to be slowing down a bit, but whether that's just a bit of player management on his behalf too, sort of thing. I am getting older. I want to get through the World Cup next year. There's no point thrashing my body this year until I get to the World Cup next year, sort of thing. You don't imagine a player would do that intentionally, but you sort of think subconsciously you think that that's something that could definitely happen.
Yeah, and I think we've when we were talking about contracts for players, Aaron Smith is one of the ones that's coming up post Rugby World Cup. I think we both said, yeah, goodbye. He's going to be, as you say, he's getting older. Actually, probably should have his name in the article I'm looking at. So I have his name? Of course, has his name. Might have his age though.
It's difficult to tell what the article's about if he hasn't got his name.
Well, exactly. Yes. No, it doesn't show his age straight away. It is interesting that he's 10 kgs lighter than Justin Marshall was during his playing days.
Oh, that is very interesting. Mind you, okay, so Justin Marshall in his playing day was considered the fourth loose forward in the game plan.
He was. But we talk about players getting bigger and faster. And here's a situation where...
Don't ruin our theories and everything. Jeez. So, okay, so hey, let's back the truck up here. You know, there's talk around the fact that they might start with TJ this weekend, right?
Yep.
We've talked about that Aaron Smith is definitely not a starting halfback. Do they start with Triple T on the bench this weekend then? If TJ starts?
It's what they did. It's what they did against the Springboks. So yes, I think he will. Oh no, was it against the Springboks? Sorry, no, it's what they did. What they did against Argentina in
first time round.
First time round. So yes, no, I think they will do.
Yeah. He was born in 1988, so you do the maths. I only look Asian.
Sorry, born in 1988.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2018 now, isn't it? So 20 years. So 30 years. Sorry. Oh dear. So yes, so he's going towards the end of his international career for a halfback, because that's what.
Oh look, I'd love for him just to be, just like him so much as a player. He really does. When he's on fire, he's just so fantastic. That it's just some sort of, management of his own body that he's sort of slowed down a little bit and he ramps it back up again next year. Because at the age of 30 for a halfback, it's interesting. Go back a few years and 30 is not too old for a halfback. But as we've talked about recently, I think in the last couple of weeks, the reason why they sub halfbacks because he's probably running the most meters on a field these days.
Yep. So what do we say? We said he was on 77 caps currently. There are 7 more test matches this year for the All Blacks. So we've got 2 more in the Rugby Championship. The third Bledisloe, Japan, and then the 3 tests, November tests. So that's 7 tests this year, which he'll probably play 5 of at most, I'd have thought.
Yep.
So that'll take him up to 82, which I think just gets him past Justin Marshall from memory. I think we said Justin was 81, didn't we? Anyway.
I think something like that, yep.
So we're getting up to about 82. Next year, obviously we have the truncated, we have no June tours, and we have the truncated Rugby Championship, which ends up being, I think it's 4 games, isn't it?
Yep.
So it's like,
no, hang on, it'll be 3 games only, won't it?
But they always have 3 games. They always have 3 games. So I think there'll be some like 5 or 6 warm-up games prior to the, maybe 5 warm-up games prior to the Rugby World Cup. You then have 4 or potentially 7 games at the Rugby World Cup. So potentially another further, which you'd expect him to play 6 of. So he's got potentially another 10 caps next year as well. So I think he's going to come short of the 100 cap mark, is what I'm trying to say.
You reckon? That's if he splits at the end of the World Cup.
Oh, I think Aaron Smith will do.
Because there's no incentive to hang on.
He's not
going to make it to the next World Cup.
Nope.
He's not going to make it through the next World Cup. So there's no incentive. There's no Lions tour.
Yeah. So my mental arithmetic reckons he'll end up in the kind of the 90s, low 90s mark.
So I suppose that could be an incentive. It's sort of like, oh yeah, I might hang in for another year just because in another year he will probably get enough caps to be able to hit the 100 mark. I mean, that's an achievement to really sort of retire on. In the sense, at the end of to say I played 100 Test matches for the All Blacks, this is, I suppose as a normal pleb, it's it doesn't mean as much as to the player himself to then sit down one day in his rocking chair, whittling a stick and going, I played 100 Test matches for the All Blacks.
100 Test matches is good, but the question is 100 Test matches worth? Is the difference between 90, 91 Test matches and 100? is that worth £500,000 or
Depends
$500,000?
how many gyms he's got set up by the end of that time. By the time he decides to split. I
Yeah,
think that's what he's doing.
that's what we're talking. We're talking that it could be worth It could be worth up to $500,000.
Yep, absolutely.
That 1 year difference. So we'll have to wait and see. But
Well, you've seen the. Yep, sorry.
my prediction is he hits low 90s and then leaves.
I was just going to say, you've seen a bunch of Crusaders that don't leave for the big money.
Very true.
Yeah, but that's something in the head, man.
Those guys, it's the earthquakes. They just it rattles the brains.
There goes your viewership and listenership dwindling in Christchurch.
Do they have fibre anyway? Can they even? Do they have even broadband internet? I don't know. Anyway.
So mean, man. I can't believe how mean you are.
Oh, dearie me. So yeah, we've covered off the topics we were going to cover off, and what have you got for yours? Any other things?
One there. We had 4 of them, didn't we? Or what were 2 of them sort of together?
2 of them were kind of together.
Bad. Oh, look, I suppose just going full circle and coming back to our first topic of the evening is that we talked about the All Blacks being under pressure, but one thing we didn't really talk about, what are we expecting out of the All Blacks, is that it's a difficult position being a Wednesday night show. We don't know what the team that's been selected is, but it is a good opportunity for there's going to be a couple of new players in there, in that sense that they're not debutants, but they're players that are still trying to make their mark in that All Blacks environment, and they're going to have good opportunity to do that. With a name that you go back to the beginning of the year, and this name's been sort of said a lot of times, and if we had $1 for every time this name's been said in the last fortnight, so we'd be rich, is Shannon Frizzell. You go back to the beginning of the year, and it's just like, what the hell? He's played 2 seconds off the bench for the Highlanders, and they picked him for the All Blacks? Because that's what it was. And then we come to that Argentinian game, and obviously in combination with Scott Barrett. And we talked about it at the defensive line, and the combination that those two had was nothing else that any of the other players had together. Right? And that's what gave the All Blacks a big amount of go forward in that game as well. So, for someone like Shannon Frizzell, a great opportunity to basically back that effort up and say, I'm not just a one game wonder. Here I am. And yeah, I'm doing it game in, game out. We were talking about that back row. Obviously, we didn't throw in the mix, and I'd forgotten Via Fafita's over there. Now, is he going to be on the bench? Is he going to be involved in the match day squad at all? If he's not involved against Argentina, I don't believe he'll be involved against Springboks. So there's probably a good chance that he might get a run. And if he gets on the field, he's got an opportunity to say, don't forget about me. I said some things about the All Black selectors and how they didn't like me. So now is an opportunity for me to show that I am good and I should be picked.
No, I think he was a bit. I think some of the comments that were made, I think they were written up as badly as they could have been from what he said. So I don't think there's any bad blood between him and the selectors. I guess my only comment would be that he's only there as injury replacement for Shields. Therefore,
Shields?
Oh, dear me.
I hope you would let them do that.
Not for Shields. I've gone blank now. Ruined me.
Ruined.
I've been ruined. Who's the normal 6? Who's first choice 6? I've gone blank.
Liam Squire.
Liam Squire, there we go. He's only there because he's as injury replacement for Squire. So he should be bottom of the pecking order.
Yep.
I.e. behind Ardy and Hemapo. Therefore, as 6th choice and with only 4 places available, the only place I could see him coming in is if he's picked as the lock replacement, which he has been done which has happened in the past. And
but the All Black selectors didn't pick him because he played too much lock in Super Rugby.
So the perfect opportunity to pick him.
He's got good experience at lock now.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I don't expect him in the 20 jersey, but he could be in that 19 jersey.
Gosh, that's technical.
I've just worked it out in my head. 16 is hooker, 17 is prop, 18 is prop. I don't know which way round, to be honest.
Yep. Tight end.
19 is your reserve lock. 20 is your reserve back row. 21, obviously your scrum half. 22, your 10, and then your other back is 23. So yeah, I say in that 19 jersey with Hemapo or Sevilla in the 20 jersey, but I can't see him. I don't think he'll be the back row replacement.
Hey, and to digress 180 degrees, and just to something you mentioned, a name you mentioned before, and I wanted to talk about the name. Not just the name, because I'm sure his parents are really proud of the name that they gave him, but it's Dan Coles. I'm getting to the point that if the TAB put odds on whether he'd be back or not, the odds on him not coming back will be higher.
Yeah, that's true. Christian's just asked in the live chat, is the team name tomorrow? We believe so. It normally is on a Thursday. It's got to be getting to that stage, hasn't it? Is he actually going to come back?
Yep.
And this time it's not about head injury. This is around it's a leg injury of some kind. So we're not talking about concussion in this case, but there's got to be some. I mean, he's been with the All Blacks training or recovering to some sort of degree. So you've got to think he's got to be nearly back. And the other name that we're going to talk about before we finish the show is Sonny Bill Williams.
Yep.
So,
true. Same boat.
Well, no, Sonny Bill Williams, though, is expected to be starting this weekend.
Oh, okay.
So, which was why I was going to mention him, is that it's going to be a very changed back line, whatever happens, because he's going to come in. Then the question is, do you put Anton Brown or Goodhue outside him, or Crotty? So we'll see.
It's getting harder and harder to leave Goodhue out, isn't it? He just doesn't have a bad game.
It is, and I think the 13 jersey should be his. Anton Brown, to be fair to him, has stepped up big time in this tournament compared to how he was playing earlier in Super Rugby. Even though you're shaking your head for those on the podcast.
On the podcast, I'm going no, and I'm shaking my head. I'm going no. He had one game which was above average and getting towards being very good, but the best you could have said was it was good. And then after that, it's like, where's he gone? He's gone missing again.
So no, I'm not saying he's going to move ahead of Goodhue. I still think Goodhue's ahead of him. But yeah, I think he's got. I think we'll probably see Sonny Williams and Goodhue as a centre combination.
Yeah, Goodhue's got a good hue around him.
Oh dear, me.
Dane Coles 31.
Sorry?
Dane Coles is 31, so his age catching up with him. And then that's not really old for a front rower, though, is it?
But he's not really a front rower, is it? He's more a midfielder playing front row.
In fact, I think I might have this wrong, and I apologise to all the experts out there that will know far more than I do. But I think way back in junior days, he actually was an open side flanker.
There are actually, amazingly enough, quite a few hookers who do play second row. I mean, thinking of one, Shark Brits, for example, was called up for wasn't it the Bulls or something, towards the end of his career as a replacement back rower for finals time. And they said very clearly he wasn't allowed to play hooker. He had to play back row because that's where they had the injuries. There's definitely Dave Ward, I think his name is, who plays for Harlequins. Again, has played quite a bit in hooker. Played quite a bit as a Lucy, and even in the Major League Rugby I think it was for Glendale, they had like the starting or the something like basically the first and second choice hookers for the USA. One was playing hooker and one was playing flanker, again, because of injuries. So, so you kind of, there are a number of, it does seem it's becoming more interchangeable, that kind of role.
Yep. Well, the hooker, you do want a mobile hooker, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And I think that's, talking of great hair that we weren't, but anyway, just will do anyway. But Johnson, playing for Wasps, he reinvented himself from being a number 8 to playing hooker.
Okay.
As well. So there's been a number of players who've moved between those positions. The one I was thinking of, because I thought you were going to go down the midfield route, but not Ben Youngs, his brother. I've gone blank as to his first name. Anyway, Youngs.
Mr. Youngs.
Mr. Youngs, the England hooker, used to be a midfielder in his youth.
Okay.
As well.
Yep.
So there we go. A number of a bit of trivia for everybody there.
Yeah. Let's throw some trivia out there. So yeah, but look, I mean, we were expecting to see Dane Coles back for the Wellington Lions, to get some game time under his belt. But as you say, injury, head's right. Now you got a leg injury, and yeah, I don't know. Are the All Black doctors just managing him and not worried about it, or you'd like to hear a bit more about what's going on there, wouldn't you? Because let's face it, one of the issues that we've talked about, and we can bring this back to the All Blacks, is the fact is that they've got one good hooker. That's it.
That is true. Just some interesting news from the Hawke's Bay versus Northland. It's 36-41, so they've closed it down to a 5-point lead. But Northland have just picked up a yellow card. So all to play for there.
Come on, Northland.
Interesting. You come on, Northland, hey? That's your. I'm planning to see Northland at when they're hosted by Counties Manukau on Sunday. So if you're in Pocono, just do say hello. And then the following weekend, we're going to do a road trip. So up to Whangarei to see Northland play Waikato, I think it is, from memory.
So, I better tell my wife.
Yeah. Oh, dearie me. So again, if you're going to be up in Northland on the 6th of June for that game, do
6th of June?
6th of June, 6th of October.
What, you travelling in a DeLorean?
Oh, dear. So yeah, and that will then be my 8th province I've visited. So I've visited 6 so far. On tomorrow night, I will be visiting Bay of Plenty for the first time. I'll be going to Rotorua for that game. That will make it up to 7, which means I'll have visited half of the provinces in the Mice 10 Cup. And then Northland the following Saturday will take me up to 8, which will mean I've visited more than half of the Mice 10 Cup provinces during one season, which I think is a pretty good achievement. Absolutely.
Hang on. Hey, podcast people and viewers on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, let's go for a hand.
So that's what we're going to be. And it has just been even, so it's 44 all. So all to play for in the
bugger
language, sir.
Now that's okay. It was on TV in New Zealand in an ad.
Yes. It is. That's true, and it's a ute ad for those of you that want to. For those of you from overseas,
it's a ute.
What's a ute?
That's another
ute is a pickup truck.
A utility truck.
A pickup truck is what we know. No, utility truck wouldn't mean anything in the UK either. So yeah, we've jabbered on, and clearly we're rambling now. So if you've stayed with us, thank you so much. Obviously, don't forget that Patreon stuff. You can help us out for as little as $1 a month. That'd be much appreciated. Because at the moment I'm making a big loss on all of this, especially on my petrol. So with petrol prices in New Zealand go through the roof. Do subscribe, like, share, tell all your friends, comments, all of that kind of stuff down below. And on Twitter, YouTube, Facey, 5-star reviews, all of those kind of lovely stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can catch me at DrivingMaul on Twitter. And Archwin is NZFatso. And yeah, enjoy whatever it be you're watching.